they are going to be influenced by that.
Sure.
Welcome everyone to Desi Dribblers. You would be wondering why are we talking in English tonight? Because we have the prestige to host Mr. Joe Morrison tonight on Desi Dribblers, and we would love to like host. We are hosting him. We can't believe because like it's such a great achievement for us because we have seen him like in the Facebook era. We have seen him hosting the Champions League. We have seen him like and hosting him is like such a big thing for us. So, sir, can you just like say one, two lines for us, like for our viewers watching?
Yes, thank you very much. My Hindi is terrible. I don't know any Hindi, which is crazy when you think I've been on TV in India for 15, 17 years maybe. So I don't know anything other than words like bungalow and shampoo.
Okay, that's great. So we are like very prestige to host you, sir. And for the people wondering who Mr. Joe Morrison is, like how's the world under the rock? How's the world under the rock? Why? How do you don't know? How don't you know him? Why? Why he's the man who has been like why we are the like he's the face of like Champions League for us Indian fans. Like before, like in the year 2017, 18, 19, we used to like in that era, I guess, we used to like binge watch his like analysis. Why we are just I'm lost for words.
Keep this side from Desi Developers, and I have to first of all, thank you for joining. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. And first of all, I would like to start like how do you get into broadcasting in TV? How did it all started?
Uh, Bit of luck, really. I used to work in a newsagent shop. It was my family's newsagent shop. When I say newsagents, you know what I mean. Yes, it's like kiosk. In India, probably a news kiosk that sells newspapers and chocolates and cigarettes and stuff like that. And there was a customer that used to come in every morning, 6 a.m., pick up his papers and his cigarettes, called George Bailey. And he worked at the BBC. And we used to talk about sport every morning. Every day of the week, every morning, we used to talk about sport, primarily football, because he was a commentator for the BBC. And he kept saying to me every week, you should come join the BBC. You've got a great knowledge of sport. You've got a great voice. Come join. And I used to always say, no, no, no. And then after about 2 years, I said, okay, I'll give it a try. So that's kind of how I started. And I think it was just the reason I said no was probably because I never saw myself as a broadcaster. And fear. I was probably scared as well of doing it, that I wouldn't be good enough. Self-doubt, and self-doubt is a big block to success. It really is. It's if you think you can't do it, then you can't do it.
We
Yeah,
have to
continue,
talk
continue.
about Indian football now.
Yes.
The reason why I'm very curious. First of all, I have seen your many interviews where you have talked about Indian football. So what makes you so connected to Indian football? Even Indians don't watch Indian football. Like what makes you so connected?
It's a great question. I think probably the number of years that I've been following. It's a couple of reasons. The number of years I've been following Indian football, broadcasting to India, obviously, has been. I broadcast to, like when we did La Liga, it was 10 countries, I think. But India was obviously the biggest audience, and the World Cups, etc. Knowing the players over the years, and my first experience of Indian football was, if you remember Bob Houghton, the coach, many years ago. Bob
Yeah.
Houghton. They came to Dubai, which is where I live. They came to Dubai in a training camp, and I got to meet Bob Houghton and sat down with them and had dinner with the team and Bob and the coaching staff. So I think that's probably where the connection originally came from. So since then, I've just followed Indian football and obviously got attached to Indian football because of the potential, and you're probably going to talk about it, but the chances of Bhutan making it to a World Cup, a tiny country with a tiny population, or Nepal, tiny country with a tiny population, it's realistically, it's not going to happen. But India, well, that's completely different. Big population, big pool of talent, and you need money. You need money. You need finances. And India's got one of the highest numbers of billionaires and corporate billionaires in the country. In the world. So, all the ingredients are there for success.
Like there is huge news is coming on Indian football. Like biggest news that is Sunil Chhetri is back to Indian football. Like what is your opinion on that? Honestly, if you ask me, I think it's a great decision for Sunil Chhetri for his legacy or for Indian football. Like he's now 40. Obviously, we need young strikers to come on and perform. But what is your opinion on this?
So that's another good question. For Sunil himself, personally, great. It's fabulous news. For Indian football, it's not good, because basically what you're saying is there is absolutely no real, serious striking talent coming through. That's what you're saying. If you can't do without Sunil Chhetri, then you've got a problem in your talent pathway. And you just have to look at the numbers. Sunil Chhetri, I think, he's in double figures. I know that for the ISL, and I think he's scored, is it twice as many as the next Indian striker? So it tells you a lot about the state of attacking options in India. It really does. It's bad. It's bad. So I don't look at it with the same positivity as many people are looking at it. I'm pleased for him. I'm happy for him, of course. So, any player wants to go on as long as possible and keep playing for their country and wearing the national colours. Of course they do. I get that. But if you look at the big picture, it's not good for India.
No, I have another question. Like,
Okay.
you have watched, ISL from the past, 2014 has started. Do you think the level of ISL has improved over the years? Like, even if it is, but Indian clubs are not, struggling to get into continental competitions. So, what is your take on that?
Has it improved? Yes, it has. Of course, it's improved. But if you watch interviews that I've done before, my answer is the same, and I'm becoming a bit like a repetitive broken record. I'm saying it every year. Indian football is improving, yes, but the speed it's improving is not quick enough. And the reason I say that is because Indian football is going along at, let's say, 10 kilometers an hour, but the rest of the world is improving at 10 kilometers an hour. But the problem is Indian football is 20, 30 years behind the rest of the world, or the serious countries in the rest of the world. So you're not, the whole world is going
Filling
up
the
like
gap.
that.
You're not
Indian
filling the
football is
gap.
going up. You're not closing the gap.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest problem. It's not. No, it's not good.
And as we know, like ISL Indian players in ISL are getting too much salaries. Like they're having too comfortable here. They're not going for big challenges to play in. Obviously they are not getting top leagues chances, but they can go to small leagues in Europe. They can
Well,
develop.
so yes and no is the answer to your question. They're not getting to pay too much. So you compare the international players in the Indian football landscape with their counterparts in other countries. They're nowhere near. They're nowhere near the levels of pay. So they're not getting paid too much. But the second part of what you said is absolutely correct, which is there is not enough incentive to go and play elsewhere. And in particular, I'm talking about outside India. So you're wrong this is in my opinion, you're wrong that they're getting paid too much. You're correct in saying they're too comfortable. And when you say too comfortable, it's not just about being financially comfortable, it's everything. Like you've heard me talk about Gurpreet Singh Sandhu before going to Norway. Gurpreet Singh Sandhu is still the longest serving Indian player outside of India. 3 years he was in Norway. No one else has matched that or even come close. Sunil Chhetri spent a year in Portugal. Baichung Bhutia spent a year in England. He's still by far and away got the longest period of the Indian players. So, but here's the thing: you talk about comfort, the weather, the climate. Have you ever been to Norway or Scandinavia? It's fucking freezing and it's bloody wet and cold. It's nothing like India. You don't have the familiar surroundings. And when I say familiar things, I'm talking about food, all of those things that are really important for comfort. So you're absolutely right. They're not prepared to go out of their comfort zone, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily just about finances. Everyone thinks that Indian footballers, well, they're going to have to cut half their salary to go and play outside. Well, they might have to cut half their salary if they're 25, but if they're 16, they don't have to cut half their salary because they're not getting big salaries in India at 16, you know? So it's how do you measure it?
And the reference standards have been quite low in ISL. Like terrible decisions are coming leagues in big matches like Kolkata Derby and other ISL games. Do you think the AFF should introduce VAR in the game? Yeah, obviously, the expenses would be very much high. But we have seen in other leagues, like in small leagues, they have also VAR, but we don't have any VAR support.
So look, you don't need VAR. When you go and broadcast at a stadium, there is multiple cameras and multiple angles. There is also a lot of technology and, in particular, monitors in the stadium, because obviously the media can see the monitors. The director in the truck, the broadcast truck, has a monitor. Everyone has a monitor. Now, what they could do, if they wanted to keep the cost to a minimum, is just provide a monitor pitch side. It's very, very easy to do. Provide a monitor pitch side to the referee, and the referee and his two assistants can say, the assistant can go, excuse me, have another look at that decision you made for the penalty or no penalty. And he can run across, have a look at the monitor, get another angle on it, and change his decision or keep his decision. That's what I would do as a first step, because the referees in India are not good enough. They're not good enough. They need more training. They need more help. Just give them some help. And it doesn't have to be VAR. It doesn't have to be all of that technology. It can just be a monitor where they can get a replay of the decision they've just made. Simple.
Yeah, and like if we talk about in the ISL, like promotion and relegation, obviously IT clubs are getting promoted in the I League last show Punjab FC, and this one also get promoted. But do you think that the AFA is purposely delaying the relegation of ISL to keep the club owners happy? Because if they get obviously ISL clubs are not making huge money. If they get relegated, obviously the club will shut down. So what do you think? Do they introduce relegation in the ISL? Should they?
Yeah, you're right. There is definitely a battle for control of Indian football at the moment. Everyone wants to be in control. There's definitely cost issues. I totally agree with that. I think they've got a little bit above themselves, Indian football, and the ISL hasn't helped that. It's given everyone this belief that the Indian football ecosystem, in particular the financial aspect of it and the revenue aspect, is as big as one of the leagues in Europe. No, it's not. It's a million miles away. There's no consistency. There's no stability. So if you're a corporate house and you're going to sponsor a club or sponsor the league or the advertising partner or marketing partner, and you don't know what the hell's going on, and you don't know what you're going to get for your money, and where your money's being spent. Is it going into someone's back pocket, or is it actually going to the development of young talent? If you don't have any of the answers to those questions, you're not going to put your money in. It's as simple as that. So they definitely need to have a big rethink about the costs that are involved. I don't believe in the franchise system. I've never believed in the franchise system. That money would be better spent on developing academy talent or developing academies at clubs. And then the other thing is broadcasters. Broadcasters want to know what they're getting. They need, look at the I-League this season, last season. Bloody hell. The I-League issues and broadcasters have been going on since I first started covering Indian football, which was 17 years ago. It's like, when is the season going to start? Beginning of September, second week of September, fourth week of September, beginning of October, third week of October. It's going to be beginning of November. Come on, man. Really? And you want broadcasters to pay top dollar to take your league and pay for your league? It's a mess. It's an absolute fucking mess.